Good morning. We'll call the meeting of the Corpus Christi City Council to order at 11:30 on Tuesday, June the 9th. And since we're still under, let me turn my phone off. Since we're still under the governor's disaster declaration, we've got a modified way we conduct our council meetings in terms of public attendance and participation. You're still available through online and telephone if you have some information you want to speak on an agenda item. And so hopefully we'll get back soon. I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Manager, the governor's order, current order expires on June the 11th, was issued May the 12th. So between now and Thursday, if he makes an extension or a declaration of any sorts concerning that, then we'll obviously honor that. If he gets announces midnight, June the 11th, my declaration is over, then we'll be back up and running. So, in answer to a lot of people's questions, when are we going to get back to normal? I don't know when that's going to be, but it can't be any sooner than the 17th, I think, is that 16th, if the order expires and he does nothing. If he extends it another 30 days, then we'll continue to honor that. I'm sure the county judge will extend her order to match what the governor does. That's what she's done so far, and we've tried to honor that to be consistent. So anyway, let's get our meeting started. I'll give the invocation, and then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance to the American and the Texas flag. Father, we're grateful for this day, and we thank you for the beauty of our city and the people in it. While we have beautiful surroundings, we've got some great people. And we pray that you would give us the insight and the wisdom to make decisions that would improve the quality of life for all of us as we sit around this table that make decisions that impact everyone that lives in our city. Guide us and keep us safe in all that we do. In your name, amen. Join me in the pledge of the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right. Ms. Huerta, will you call the roll?
Mayor Joe McComb.
Present.
Council members Roland Barrera. Hello, Mr. Barrera?
We can't hear him back there. I don't know who's running the sound
Turn your
system.
microphone on. Thank you, yes.
Okay.
Rudy Garza.
Here.
Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Gail Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Ben Molina is absent. Everett Roy.
Present.
Greg Smith.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Here.
City Attorney Miles Risley.
Here.
Mayor and Council, a quorum of the council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
All right. Well, our public comment, we received several public comments for the record, and the city secretary has provided us a copy of those, and they will be, I think they've been distributed to the council members, so they'll know what the content is.
Yes, sir, they have.
But they'll also be entered into the record for
Yes, they'll be attached to the minutes for the record.
Right.
Yes, sir.
All right, so those that did send public comment, we do have them. We want to acknowledge it, and they'll be part of the record, and each council member is given a copy. So thank you for doing that. At this time. At this time, we'll call city manager's comments and updates. Mr. Zanoni.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a couple of items to present, but we're going to have Billy Delgado talk to us first about hurricane preparedness. We know that the 2020 hurricane season has begun, and myself and a team from the city manager's office and some of our departments have been working with Billy to make sure internally we're ready. We know that we've had some great training here with COVID-19 in terms of preparing and coordinating for an emergency and implementing action plans. And so we feel confident that we're probably more than ready than we have been in the past. Probably never 100% ready, right, for a hurricane, but What we want Billy to do is just update the city council on the hurricane season and what he's working on, so that the council and the community is aware. Billy, thank you.
Billy Delgado, Mayor, Council. Billy Delgado, Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Corpus Christi.
Can't
Today-
hear him.
Go ahead, I don't know what they're picking up.
Go ahead.
Back here?
Are y'all making comments in the back? We can hear you on the microphone.
Yeah. Push,
Paulette and Gil, okay.
okay, whoever's controlling that. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Billy.
Yes, sir. Trying to switch the slides here.
You can just verbally say next slide. I think they'll
Okay,
change it.
next
for you.
slide, please. This is the location where we're at, 2406 Leopard. That's the Office of Emergency Management Center. Basically, during times of emergency, this is where we come together, different agencies, to establish priorities and help resource management for the people in the field that need resources. Next slide, please. Emergency management, there's 4 critical in the cycle of emergency management: prevent, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. At this time, we're preparing and also responding to COVID, so we're doing 2 things at one time. Next slide, please. Whenever we want equipment or whenever we need resources that we're not able to come through within the city, we always go to the state. And this is the chart that goes up to the state Office of Emergency Management and the State Operations Center when we're requesting equipment, resources to deal with the disaster. Disasters are always local. The state will come in and support us, but under the plan, the locals are always in charge of the plans. Next, please. We have an organizational chart based on Incident Command System, the NIMS, National Incident Management. And this is just a way of funneling the chart as far as who talks to who. Instead of everybody talking to everybody, it's a formal way of the communication during times of an event. As you can see here, the bottom is our logistics planning and other resources. And then up on top, we have our legal PIO, and I'm not going to read them all. But you can see all the way up to the chart. And then this is how the system works whenever we're activated in the EOC. Next slide, please. Under the government code, that requires at least a basic level of preparedness and the establishment of local emergency management programs, municipal or county. It requires that the Texas Emergency Management too establishes a local plan standards, which is we call the annexes, which have to be reviewed by us locally every 5 years. It also designates the mayor and county judge as emergency management directors for their jurisdiction. Authorizes mayor and judges to exercise the emergency powers of the governor on the appropriate local scale during disasters. This is under Government Code 418. Next slide. The county judge, the mayor, may order the evacuation of all or part of the population from the stricken or their threshold area where they're under their jurisdiction. The decision to evacuate is made with the coordination of elected officials, city staff, with Nueces County, Port Aransas, and Robstown. Next, please. The city has established emergency teams. These are our teams comprised of city employees. Each employee of the city is considered essential. And so in that, they have a team, they have an exercise that they do. There are emergency teams, such as our evacuation team, and so on. They've been created to respond to emergencies. Teams will have a specific role during times of emergency. The communication between the EOC and the emergency teams is very critical, and it's successful to the operation. Please, next. These are just some of the agencies. The city can't do it alone. It needs teamwork, and we're all based on teamwork. Agencies involved in the past disasters, as you can see, multiple agencies that have been involved with, mainly this one was Harvey. You can see that all the different agencies that we coordinate with, communicate with, and strategize with during times of an emergency. Next, please. Planning is the key to any successful operation. We plan year-round. We talk to everybody. We talk to departments. We meet with departments when we can, review the plans. The departments update their plans annually and puts them in a drive where everybody can see their plans. We meet with outside agencies. This year, because of COVID, a lot of this has been done virtually with WebEx. We had a big WebEx business presentation yesterday. We had over 55 people on the line. So that's 55 organizations that were on the line. And one of the big things that we do is review all nursing home plans. We have a criteria that they need to meet, and so they turn in their plans to us and we review them, and then we let them know if they've met all the criteria based on their criteria that they have to do. And then we do presentations, again, with different groups. Again, with COVID, we're not able to go out and meet with them, but we have met with the industry, we met with LEPC, we've met with a lot of different groups, and we plan on meeting with more today. Today, this afternoon, we're doing a town hall meeting with the National Weather Service at 2 o'clock. Next, please. Planning efforts must, and have the right people at the table. We're very proud of the Corpus Christi and how we bring in different agencies to plan an event or to plan evacuation. One of the things that you don't want to do is bring in a entity that's involved in a planning process in the middle of the planning process. Bring them in at the beginning. Have them have their say. One of the big on the evacuation is our functional needs support team. We bring them in at the beginning. We have nothing to hide. We're transparent on our plans. We want to make sure the only solution is to make sure that all community has a good plan in place in case of an emergency. We integrate the whole community. We want to make sure that everyone has a safe passage out of town. And we focus on the whole community, inclusion. Communities must develop business and family plans. We stress this with the family members. We stress this with our presentations, that they have to have a plan in place. They have to feel that they know what they're going to be doing in times of crisis, not when it's in the Gulf, not when it's bearing down on us, but doing it now. And then the plan should be reviewed each year, which the city does. We make sure that or the departments have excellent plans. We, as the Emergency Management Operations Center or Office of Emergency Management, we don't tell the departments how to do their job. They're the experts in what they do. And so they put together great plans, and what we do is we coordinate with them, we coordinate with the different agencies, and making sure that the plans are where they need to be as far as so visible. Next, please. Communication also, not only with the community, but also with our local and federal agencies. Nueces County is very important to us, and that takes into Robstown, Port Aransas, and the county. Our National Weather Service, we're one of the few EOCs that has a meteorologist in the EOC. They make sure that instead of waiting for our annual call, our hourly call, they're there, they give us advice. Texas Emergency Management, which are very important to us, and then all these other agencies that are here. 211 is very important to us as far as getting the information out to the citizens. Next, please. Communication with the public is very, very important. As you can, these are the numbers from Harvey, communicating with the public, letting them know this is the interest that they had, and I'm not going to read them, but you can see the news briefing, the news releases, the conferences, how many people were following us on Twitter, Facebook, a lot, and the briefings that we had with the public are very important, and we will continue to do that. Next, please. City has a phased evacuation plan. It's in coordination with the RTA, the city school district, Corpus Christi Independent School District, and Red Cross, Salvation Army, and multiple different departments within the city. Basically, if anybody needs a way out of town, all they have to do is catch their nearest bus stop. Simple as that. Catch your nearest bus stop. RTA suspends costs. You're able to bring luggage. You're able to bring your pets. And riders will be taken to a transfer station within the routes and then taken over to the Corpus Christi gym is where we evacuate. CCIG buses and state asset buses will be used to transport evacuees out of town. Next slide, please. This is the evacuation zone. We updated it for this year. We did a traffic study with the state last year. And so some of the areas that have changed are in the green. That's just based on elevation. So whenever we call for an evacuation, we'll just call the zone and let people know. But we always tell people if they're in zone A3 and they feel like they need to leave, they need to leave. Don't be waiting for the city to tell them to leave. Next, please. Just like we do a phased evacuation, we want to bring everybody back orderly. So we have a phased hurricane reentry plan. This is a plan that was a lot of good people devised this with the county. It's a county hurricane reentry plan with Port Aransas, Robstown. And these are the tiers that we bring them in. Tier ER is our emergency response people. And then we want to bring our immediate mass care people and then major damage assessments to the major industry that are here in Corpus Christi. Phase 2 is the restoration of essential services, other support and mass care operations that need. We want to make sure that the city is up and ready for the citizens to come back to Corpus Christi. We don't want to rush them back. We want to make sure that they're protected. We want to make sure that services are available for them. And in phase 3 would be the business owners and residents. One thing we stress with the tier 3 is patience. Patience. If the hurricane leaves on Friday, don't expect to come back on Saturday. So we stress this all the time in our presentations. Be patient, listen to your local news, and then we, as the city, will be giving this information out on what tier we're at. Next, please. We take a proactive approach on our plans, on our meetings. We don't wait for a disaster. We always ask ourselves, okay, what can be the worst case scenario? We can't wait for it to happen. We have to have a plan in place. And there will be times and challenges will come up. But we are very confident that our team is prepared to handle such situations. We work together as a team. We take a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach. And that's the way that we like to do it, and that's the way we do it. Next, please. These are just some media outlets that we use. KLUX Radio, we've said this before. They go directly, they shut off all music, and they're in contact with us continuously. So they're pushing out the messages. And then we do our social paid media and our public alert system, which is reverse alert. We encourage everyone, if you're not in reverse alert, that's our way of communicating with you to let you know what's the emergency, what are we doing right now. So if you haven't registered for our public notification system, go to reversealert.org. Next, please. I want to thank you for the time to be in front of you. I want to thank you for the work that you do. I can tell you that the city departments work year-round to have a good plan in play for any type of emergency. I know we're talking hurricanes, but we talk all hazard plans, not just a hurricane plan. So if there's any questions.
Any questions? Just a comment. He's the right guy for the job. You need somebody that's calm, cool, and collected. And I've seen him in action, and he doesn't get much higher level than he is right here with a hurricane. I mean, that really helps in trying to keep people's anxieties down and get the job done. And I just want to commend you for your commitment to the job and the job you do and your people. You do a great job. But I mean, he's an example of keep calm and just work the plan, and things are gonna work out. So you're living what you're preaching, so thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you on behalf of the team. They give you that confidence. Whenever you have a good team in place, they give you the confidence to do what you need to do.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we appreciate the presentation, but we hope we don't have to exercise anything you talked about today.
Yes, sir. We're ready. Thank you.
We want you to be the best spare tire we have. We want you there, but we don't want to use you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Billy. Mayor, I just have a few other quick items since we've been off for a couple of weeks, but I did want to thank Billy. It's been, as you mentioned, he's a pleasure to work with. His whole team is. I know Chief Roach is here as well, and we feel confident and safe with a great first responder team that we have here in Corpus Christi. So thank you, Billy. Okay, just a couple of other quick things, Mayor and Council, beginning with some fun stuff. So this past Saturday, we had the official kickoff of that Safe Fun Fit at the Bayfront. And we had some real good turnout this past Saturday. A lot of residents had come out. We had live music and giveaways that promoted health and wellness. You're going to see a couple of pictures from this past Saturday as I speak. We had runners, joggers, walkers, and cyclists that came out to enjoy an expanded fitness lane, which is 1.25-mile vehicle-free zone from Cole Park to the Arts Center. The fitness lane this weekend was utilized by our Corpus Christi Young Explorers. You may remember those guys, as well as our fire cadets. They came along with Chief Rocha to do some morning training, and they were pretty impressive, all dressed in their gray and blue fatigue. It was about 50 of them from 2 different cadet classes. And Councilman Barrera, Roy, and Wajardo have participated over the past couple of weeks as well. We appreciate them being there. And our parks and police department are doing a great job ensuring that safety for everyone is in the forefront of us. So we're encouraging people to stay 6 feet apart from each other in all our classes. There's a total of 5 fitness classes that are offered. They're all free to the public. They include Zumba and yoga. And this past Saturday, we reached our capacity of 30. We were starting off with 20 for the first 2 Saturdays. This Saturday we had 30, and every one of them was filled. In fact, we had to turn a few people away. The program also offers, in addition to that fitness and initiatives, advice. There's trained staff there that can give people advice on training and staying fit, and also providing nutritional information as well and healthy recipes. This Saturday, June 13, we're excited to announce a new youth component to the Safe Fun Fit. We'll be adding activities geared toward children and youth, such as micro soccer, a youth fitness obstacle course, and noodle hockey. So that'll be this Saturday. If you have any children or grandchildren that may want to come down. The activities are offered from 9 to 11 for those youth activities. The event is from 7 to 11, and that will be every Saturday from now on until August 29th. So if anybody wants to register for those classes, they should do it now because they fill up pretty fast. There's 4 classes, but 30 persons per class. We developed a website for that registration, so it's cctexas.com/safefunfit, one word. So cctexas.com/safefunfit. You can register there and get more information as well. So along those same veins, we want to talk a little bit about lifeguards and our pools and splash pads along the vein of safety and having fun outside. The summer pool season is here, and our city is preparing for summertime recreation for our families. A lot of them enjoy going to the pools or just going to the beach, as well as our many tourists that we know are already coming, but more to come. So I wanted to remind everybody about our lifeguards, where they are and how many they are, and what they do to protect the life of our residents as well as our guests and tourists. You may be aware this weekend there was a rescue of 4 persons down there by the Bob Hall Pier, and the staff had told me if we weren't there, it would have been some tough going for those 4 individuals. So the lifeguards are critically important to our operation. And so we have 11 lifeguards, 11 that are on duty along the Gulf beaches every day of the week. And 3 lifeguards are at the J.P. Luby Beach and Zahn Road. We have 4 lifeguards near Road 3A and the seawall. There's one lifeguard near Whitecap Beach, and then with this agreement with Nueces County, we have 3 that are at Bob Hall Pier. And so the lifeguards are on duty Monday through Thursday from noon to 6, and then Friday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So the busy times, Friday through Sunday, 10 to 8 at night, 10 a.m., 8 p.m., and then 12 to 6 on those other days. And then up here on our bays at McGee Beach, we have one lifeguard on duty Monday through Sunday, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And currently, we don't use any or have any lifeguards at North Beach, but that could change in the future. And we're currently, if anybody's out there listening and is looking for a summer job, we're currently still hiring lifeguards. So check us out. It's a great job. My oldest son, Tanner, was a lifeguard for 3 years, and it's real fun. It's a real responsible job. It's a life safety job. You get to deal with fellow lifeguards, so it has a little bit of fun to it as well. I also want to remind everybody of our swimming pools, and now we have more splash pads than ever in our inventory. So many of our pools are open right now to include Collier. The natatorium is open from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. The West Guth pool is open 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. The HEB on Shelley Street pool, that will open this Saturday, and it'll be open Friday through Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 8. The Greenwood pool and the Oswald pools will be opening soon. The Greenwood is tentative for this Saturday, June 13, and then Oso will be June 27, Saturday, June 27 for those 2 pools. And then we have new splash pads. You've seen them maybe through the newspaper or social media. A new splash pad at Lindale Park opened a couple weeks ago. Salinas Park was this past weekend. And then the Bill Witt Park will open this Friday, the splash pad at Bill Witt Park. And those are operating, just so everybody's aware, because some people weren't aware and we got some questions. They operate as long as the park is open. They're not staffed, and if nobody's using it, it'll turn off, and then you press a button and the water comes back out. So, but they're open and operable from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., those 3 splash pads. And however, beginning this week on Mondays, splash pads will be closed for maintenance. Right, so every Monday they'll be closed for maintenance, and then they'll be open though for the rest of the week. And social distancing signs are in place at the splash pads to remind everybody to keep at least 6 feet distance from each other. So the brand new ones that you all approved that we had open pretty much on time have been really enjoyed by the community, and it's a good way to get cool and have fun out there. Now let me turn just a little bit to a little more serious business, and this one's important because I want to make sure the council's aware and the community's aware that the winter quarter averaging billing is beginning. The first bills with wastewater winter quarter averaging methodology went out last week, and for many residents there'll be a slight increase in the bill, and then others will have a decrease in their bill. So just some background: prior to January 2018. Wastewater charges were calculated on that winter quarter averaging, and it takes 3 consecutive billing cycles during the winter months of water to assess basically what the wastewater charge will be, right? But in January 2018 through April 2020, that was switched by the city, and it went to wastewater was charged monthly based on water usage. But we know council changed that back again this past fall. And wastewater charges, again, are based on that winter quarter average, which is those 3 months in the winter. So just some examples here, because I think my bill I got when I was looking at it the other night, I noticed a difference. I have to check it one more time, but customers may see a difference. So a residential customer that uses 3,000 gallons of water per month, they will see a slight increase of $3 a month in their wastewater bill based on that winter quarter averaging. Residential customers with 4,000 gallons of water per month, they'll see an increase of $7 in their wastewater. And then the typical customer, most of our customers are in that 5,000 gallon of water usage. They're going to see an increase of $10 a month in their wastewater bill. But on the other side, high water user customers, those that use 25,000 gallons, most notably in the summertime, they are going to see a decrease of over $100 a month, right? So somewhere in between the 5,000 gallon and the 25,000, there'll be reductions for some customers, Other customers, though, will see slight increases on this new methodology. And just a reminder that it's the methodology we had before. The monthly one, customers didn't like because it was unpredictable. It penalized persons that had swimming pools in the summer or used water to irrigate the landscaping in the summertime. So the winter quarter averaging is the one we've checked that most water utilities use. That's the right one to use. We've made the right decision. There's just a minor adjustment to the bills, and we want to make sure people are aware in case we start getting some calls as people get their bills. The first ones went out last week for the June billing cycle. Okay, and then on some budget updates, I told the council I'd like to present just a little bit of information each council meeting on budgets. We're still monitoring and managing, the economic downturn because of COVID. We did present updates to council on the general fund and several other significant funds like the hotel occupancy tax fund. We know in the general fund we're projecting a shortfall between 14 and 21 million, right? That's a shortfall we projected, but things are looking a little better. We're monitoring this weekly, and we did present to council a plan on how to balance this year's budget, even though we're projecting that shortfall. And we know that the majority of the shortfall is caused from sales tax collection. That alone will equate for between 9 and 13 million of that shortfall, just in sales tax alone. So tomorrow, though, we'll receive our sales tax check for April. Okay, it's 2 months in arrears, so June, we receive it for the April activity. That's probably going to be the worst check that we'll get because March was a blended month. 2 weeks was non-COVID, and then 2 weeks of COVID. And we did okay. The check that we got for March is pretty much what we thought we would get. We'll have to see what we get for April, but that will be the worst. We'll let you know tomorrow what that amount is. And then we think that May and June we'll begin to see recoveries. Ian Vasey helped us significantly, or considerably, I should say, with Eddie, and we felt pretty confident in the models. And our solid waste, that was another big revenue impact because of anticipated reductions in tonnage. We thought between $1 to $2 million in less revenue, and that held true for the first couple of weeks. However, in the last 3 weeks, we've exceeded the tonnage that we expected to receive by 6%. Right, so in the first couple of weeks from May through March through May, it was what we thought there'd be a reduction. But these last couple of weeks have been more than what we thought. So now, based on the last couple of weeks, we're anticipating that we'll actually have a little bit less than $1 million when we were thinking it could be as bad as $2 million. Right. So the highest shortfall we thought was $2 million, and that now it's $750,000. So we'll keep monitoring that one. Our beach permitting, while it's not a big revenue source, that one is doing much better as well because of increased persons to the beach. And we expected a shortfall in that one, but now because of the high demand at our beaches, we're expecting an increase over the budget of 50 to 100,000. So we beat that estimate from our tourists and others. And then our hotel occupancy tax, we're watching that closely. Room nights are filled down there at the beach and even further on to Flower Bluff and up SPID. And Brett's doing a great job in helping us weekly assess and track hotel room nights booked. And we'll be getting information this Friday on the occupancy rates for the past month. And then one final thing on the budget is next week. Let's see, is it next week? Yeah, next week or actually not next week, but the week after, we'll be talking to council about the financial policies for the budget. So that's kind of step one in the budget process, and Councilman Hernandez knows him well. He and I spent many hours together last year when I just started the job. So the financial policies as part of our budget process is one of the first things council approves, and it's a multiple-page document. We made some significant changes last year, but it'll be in your agenda packet. We'll go over it with you if we need to on some one-on-ones, and we'll bring it to council for consideration and approval to kind of set the parameters for the budget development. Okay, and then finally, one final item is North Beach restroom. So we know that North Beach is it's a residential community, but it's also a big tourist draw. In fact, getting reports from business owners like Lynn Frazier, he has not seen that beach as busy as it is since he's been operating there. So with that, though, comes a responsibility for hygiene, right? We want people to be able to wash their hands, use the restrooms. We have 2 bathrooms on the beach today, the permanent fixtures. and they were built in the 70s, but over time they had fallen into disrepair. And we know that ultimately we need to replace them with new permanent fixtures. But to get them ready and usable for this season, especially with COVID-19, I did instruct our team to renovate them in a low-cost way, but enough to where they're usable and they look like pretty decent amenities, especially for those that are coming from out of town. And so the one that's located at Gulf Breeze is kind of removed from the beach, kind of set in a parking lot. That one has been just about renovated. We've put a new roof on it, new painting to match the color scheme of the peninsula, and some new fixtures. And we've also at both locations put security cameras. That was a concern of the community. And so we have live security cameras at both bathroom locations, not inside, but outside. You can kind of see the parking lot. And those are monitored 24 hours a day by the police department. Additionally, Chief Markle has made North Beach a patrol beat. And so there's a full-time police officer around the clock just dedicated to North Beach. And so between the cameras and the police officer, we think that some of the but some of the activity that some folks didn't think was right will be better monitored and probably alleviated. So that one bathroom there at Gulf Breeze will be open of the first ones, and it's in pretty decent shape structurally for being a 1970s vintage. And then the others that are at Surfside, there's an original one, and then they did an ADA one. The goal is to have those taken off the beach, removed soon. I'm recommending in the 2020 bond program, will be up to council whether or not that goes on, but we're recommending that bathroom facility be replaced and actually taken from the beach and moved back away from the beach, so that when you pull up into that area, it's a city park of sort, you'll have a beautiful view of the beach instead of the two restrooms that you see today. And we'll have to build it to modern standards. It'll have to be raised up most likely for the floodplain or the velocity zone issue. And so we're going to do some pre-design work now. It'll be not only the parking lot will be improved, but a brand new bathroom and then a new playground area. That will be the bond program project. But in the meantime, so there's something there, hot running water and rail toilet, flushing toilets. Those bathrooms will be upgraded as well for the time being. They'll last us through this season and maybe into the spring and early summer next year. We think that the turnaround time for the new facility shouldn't take that long. So that bathroom, both those bathrooms have been painted as well. They were a bright green color that wasn't the scheme of colors that the community wanted, and so they match the color palette for that peninsula as well. So that'll offer persons CDC and health department recommended facilities to have proper hygiene and provide some good amenities for those tourists that come, as well as for our own residents. So Mayor and Council, that concludes our briefings for this morning. Thank you for your attention.
All right. Do we have any update? We get updates every day on the Coronas thing. I think we're pretty up to date on that, aren't we?
Yeah, right. So on the coronavirus, yesterday marked a 300 number. So that was 300 total cases that we've been tracking since day one, but about 60% of those are recovered. There's still only 3 deaths, and the number of tests that have been performed in the community, it's a substantial number at this point. There's a drive-through testing site. I don't know, was it today or tomorrow? I can't remember if it was today or tomorrow, but those are still going on. There's 2 this week, and we're still providing daily updates through our web portal. Peter Collins and team developed a real nice web portal where you can see the numbers and statistics on your phone or on the computer. And we're still doing our briefings on Wednesdays, and then Texas A&M Corpus Christi is still doing their modeling and projecting on Fridays, and those are pretty well attended with social media persons chiming in as well as carried live on our TV stations.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I'm going back to the bathrooms on North Beach. I guess just for clarity, Peter, you said we're renovating them, but the plan is for them to be on a bond in 2020 to demolish them, or?
Yeah, just the one. So there's one on Gulf Breeze and one on Surfside.
Right.
And the Gulf Breeze one, let me talk to the Surfside one. So the Surfside one of the two has the most, is the most problematic in terms of location. It impedes the view of the beach, and there's residential properties to the left and the right of it. And they've expressed concern that they lose that beach view. And so working with Councilman Roy and the community, we proposed to the community that we renovate it for now so that it's usable. And then we'll put a new one in the 2020 bond program. And then that would be for the 2020 bond. The other one that's at Gulf Breeze, that one would be in a future bond program potentially, although it's in pretty decent shape and it doesn't really block the beach view in any way. So just the one to start with, Councilwoman, for the 2020 bond. But just to show the community that we were serious about it, we're going to begin some pre-design work now with a consultant, one of our engineering consultants, and they'll be somewhat shovel-ready by the time the bond is considered in November, so that final design and construction can begin soon.
Okay. Do you know roughly what our investment is in these, or will be?
What was the what? Sorry.
Do you know roughly what our investment is in these for renovation?
For the renovations, it's about $40,000 to $50,000 per facility.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Zanoni. Just a little institutional knowledge on here that we have. We designed a restroom on the island, it's the same kind of velocity zone. So those plans ought to exist someplace there, and so it did go through the design phase. And the cost on that at that point in time, 6 years ago, about $1.8 million for those restrooms.
Mr. Roy?
I just wanted to add that part of what Peter and in terms of going forward is that the restroom, it was Seaside, correct? That's the name of it. The renovations were the bare minimum in terms of just making sure that it was operational and getting up so that they have water and they can get through the summer and hopefully through this entire COVID thing, making sure that they have water and hygiene right there. So they didn't go out, and when you talk about renovations, it's not a full-scale renovation. It's just really bringing it up to the point where it could be used. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, Peter, I want to thank you on the getting the pools up and going. I know we still have a lot of work there to do. Hopefully it'll be in some of the 2020 bond package. But just so you show my support, my son is actually one of the lifeguards that was trained in, so he's actually working at the city pools. Thanks.
Anybody in the cloud back there want to make comment?
No, sir.
Michael? Okay. That, anything else there, Mr. Zanoni? All right. Well, before we get to the minutes, one of the things that keep going, that even though we haven't been doing them here, and I thought we'd do some today, is we've continued to provide proclamations for different projects, and so we had 3 that we've done. Just tell you quickly what they were so you know that we're continuing to do that. Giussani Smith Foundation Day is June the 9th, and this was a foundation that was established by Giussani's family as a result of his tragic loss of life out at to the rip currents out there on the island, and they're doing a great job. And so June the 9th is Giussani Smith Foundation Day. And then June the 9th through the 19th is a proclamation for the 155th anniversary of Juneteenth and the Spirit of Emancipation Day, which is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. And Dr. Scott I think each one of you at your table has, or at your seat has a T-shirt or two, or maybe just one of each. I'm not real sure. I got a yellow one and you got a tan one, so I don't know whether we. Yeah. But anyway, one is to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Dr. Gloria Dean Randall Scott on June 18th. And then the other one is for the Juneteenth celebration. So there could be two. And so anyway, she wanted to bring those by and provide them for you. And so those 3 proclamations and the T-shirt. Ms. Wirt, if you'll, that does our proclamations, and we thank you for that, and we continue to, well, and then I had one, I don't have it here. What did I do with it? Yeah, I knew there was another one. I mean, I don't get the privilege of presenting a proclamation to the bishop, but June 11th is a proclamation for the Roman Catholic Church and the Diocese of Corpus Christi for the Feast of Corpus Christi, and that's held on an annual basis, celebrating the founding and the naming of the city by Alonso Alvarez de Pineda for the city of Corpus Christi back a few years ago, back in 1591. I know some of you think I went to that celebration, but I didn't. But anyway, the bishop was kind enough to come down, and we presented him with a proclamation. I knew I missed one. All right, Ms. Wirt, if you'll call the roll, please. Let's entertain the minutes of the meeting for May the 12th and the May the 19th. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of the minutes on May the 12th and May the 19th. Anybody have any corrections, additions, deletions, modifications? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Did you get those from the hinterland on those?
I got them.
Okay.
Heard all the distinct.
Anybody, no? All right. Before we get started, I don't know whether you all looked it over in a lot of detail today, but this agenda today, to me, is pretty exciting. One is item 17. All of us have been after for a long time getting our streets, residential streets done. And item 17 today is one for 4 contracts in the amount of $13.7 million to continue moving forward on our street rebuild program. So that's a pretty exciting item. The other one, and the staff, Mr. Zanoni, your staff, and it's too bad they can't be down here to be thanked in person, but if they're viewing online or whatever, there are 7 agenda items on our agenda today that 5 of them are accepting grants and 2 of them are submitting grants, which we feel like that we'll get for a total of $1.37 million. So that to me is great news. I think it's a tribute to the staff that, well, we've been encouraging them to pursue these grants. They have, and we're bearing fruit now. And so that 1.3 million it's really bigger than 1.3 considering the loss of sales tax revenue we've had and the loss of hotel motel tax. And they're good. They're good things to have, and I'm trying to see here. I know police gets some. I think fire gets some. There's a little bit, I think, for everybody in these grants. But $1.37 million, that's great. So when we get to those items, we'll identify them. But here's a sheet that I put together last night to identify which ones they were, so you could pay a little more attention to them when we got to them to be thankful for the grants that we're getting. So that gets us then to, we don't have any board and committee appointments, correct?
No, sir. That's right.
All right, then items 2 through 20 are consent agenda. Anyone, item 2 and 3 are grants. Item 11 is the I think that's, no, that's item 17. The item 11 is moving some monies from one fund to another that would allow us to continue to do some more work. Is that correct on the streets? And then, which is another great thing that we got going. And then the items 18 and 19 are also grant submissions. So anybody have any questions or comments on the consent agenda items 2 through 20 that they want to discuss?
17 and number 4.
17 and 4. Okay, that's a pull. 17 and... Anyone else have any comments on items 2 through 20? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Sorry. Item 12, please.
Yeah, what you got?
Item 12, she said.
Oh, item 12, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Item 12,
That's-
is that
Yes, and 13.
12 and 13? Okay, anybody else? All right, I'll entertain a motion then on items 2 through 20 with the exception of 4. Did we somebody say 11?
No, sir. 4, 12,
4, 12, 13, and 17.
That's right.
Is there a
Make a
motion?
motion to approve?
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on those? If not, you want to call the roll since they're out of the office, out of the
Don't mind.
room here, please?
For passage of the consent agenda, with the exception of 4, 12, 13, and 17. Mayor McComb?
Aye.
Council members Roy?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Barrera? Mr. Barrera?
Aye.
Garza? Aye. Guajardo?
Aye.
Hernandez?
Aye.
Hunter?
Aye.
And Molina is absent. The consent agenda passes.
All right. Before we go to item number 4 for discussion, I failed to recognize this is, I think, our first meeting since March or May the 26th, so we have a new mayor pro tem. Mr. Greg Smith, his salary went up and his seat changed, so.
I got a T-shirt.
Yeah, I got 2 T-shirts. Yeah. So anyway, I got a new mayor pro tem for between now and August the 17th. Boy, the heat of the summer. So.
My days.
All right. Well, congratulations. All right. Item number 4. Who wanted to talk about that?
I did, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
And this is just quick. Going through all the documents. The last document specifically on the package that talks about the third 380 agreement with the lift fund, and it specifically says that money comes back. Is there a mechanism for us to track that? I mean, do we just put it on accounts receivable? I just want to make sure that there's somewhere where we have a notice to expect that money or that check to come from the lift fund.
Yes, sir. We have an org created in the general fund for economic development, and as that money comes back, it will go there and then transfer to the Type A funds. But keep in mind that won't be for 3 years when they start getting paid back.
Oh, that's what I said. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
there's got to be a
Yes, sir.
mechanism for us to be aware that money's supposed to come back to us.
Yes, sir.
Specifically, since it's not actually, that language is not in the ordinance, it's in the 380 agreement. So it's not, I'm a little concerned that since it's not in the ordinance, we won't have that specifically
Okay.
kind of keyed in. But I'm assuming since we have an agreement, that they should honor that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. With that, I make a motion to approve.
All right. There's a motion and a second on item 4. Any discussion? Ms. Worthy, want to call the roll?
Sir, for passage of ordinance number 4 on emergency, Mayor McComb?
Aye.
Council members Roy?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Barrera?
Aye.
Garza? Guajardo?
Aye.
Hernandez? Hunter?
Aye.
And Molina is absent. The ordinance passes.
All right. The next item is item 12. Is that correct? Who asked for that?
Item 10, right?
Ms. Guajardo?
No, I'm sorry.
No?
It was 12.
No, you're right. It's
12.
Ms. Guajardo, you got
Yeah.
item 12?
Yes. Yeah, so the cleaning, this is a custodial cleaning. So I just recall that, we obviously, I think there were some issues with the last contract, which, this is great that we're gonna, change and hopefully better that. But with, everything we're going through right now with the pandemic, are there certain things that, we're asking in this contract in regards to the type cleaning we need, for disinfecting? And I'm assuming we would probably do the same thing here, with City Hall, how they clean, or just because of everything going on. Is there anything different that they're going to do, opposed to the last company, and because we're in a pandemic? The second question would be, I know we have a gym in that building for our police officers, and do they clean that, and how do they go about that? I mean, are these all things that are in the contract? The responsibility of cleaning has obviously, it's more important these days. So I'm wondering how are we addressing those things with this new contract?
Councilmember Guajardo, this is Pat Eldridge, and was no change in the scope of work for cleaning crews for them to respond to the pandemic. We pretty much, in our building and municipal court, we have taken up that quest for extra cleaning. They do some cleaning. We make sure that they're using the recommended supplies. But they just do their regular cleaning, and then our crew picks up the rest of the extended cleaning that is necessary. And this contract is not the same as the previous one you were talking about. That was for outlying buildings. This is just for the main police building.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. And what about the gym?
Yes.
Does that get cleaned? I mean, and obviously my concern, Pat, is, the safety of our police officers.
Yes, ma'am. We have taken up our own personal protection ourselves. We have extensive cleaning supplies and wipes in the locker rooms themselves, as well as throughout the building. And we don't want to rely on one individual company to take care of ourselves. We want to take care of ourselves in addition to that. It's not an added responsibility that we have for them to sanitize areas.
Okay, so the gym is not a part, is that fair? It's
So
not part of the,
They clean the gym.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is Chief Markle. Good afternoon, everybody.
hi, Chief
So
Markham.
the gym is, we set out separate cleaning supplies for the gym. There's non-reusable towels are used one time only, then discarded. Each person utilizing the gym gets a towel, bottle of cleaning supply. The equipment is sprayed and wiped down between uses. It's pretty extensive. It's been working well. The gym has been very clean. I think a lot of people attest to that. And that the routine in there as far as cleaning your equipment when you're done, before and after you're done, has in my opinion, been pretty exemplary from what we've seen. So yeah, that's a separate system in there. They have a bin of clean towels. You grab a towel, you grab a bottle of cleaning supplies, and as you work out, you clean your equipment and move on. And then you dispose of the towel in a bin, and that's laundried after it's full.
Okay, all righty, well, thank you for that explanation.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see any
I
other.
move to approve.
Anyone else? You want to make a motion, Ms. Harold?
Yeah, move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and second on item 12. Any further discussion? Not, Ms. Worthy, we can call the roll.
For passage of motion 12, Mayor McComb.
Aye.
Councilmembers Roy.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Barrera.
Aye.
Garza. Guajardo.
Aye.
Hernandez.
Aye.
Hunter.
Aye.
And Molina is absent. The motion passes.
All right, item 13, I think that was Ms. Guajardo also.
Hold on.
13?
13 was, oh, vaccinations. I have a quick question on that. How do we, if you run out, you never know how many animals you're going to adopt out or get rescued or have to vaccinate, based on obviously what comes in. So I'm just curious as to what we do, or do we run out? What do we do if we run out? Are you authorized? I think you may be authorized to purchase more, or how does that work? Being that, again, we never know how many animals we are going to take in.
Councilwoman, this is Joel Skidmore with Animal Care Services. The contract that we worked with is actually, the amount is over what we've previously used for the vaccines. So we're not estimating to use the full contract amount. It's just an overshot in case, but I understand your concerns since we never know the amount of animals that we'll be intaking. But we have over estimated the amount on the supply on the contract.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You want to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, the motion is second on item 13. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Oh, Ms. Worthy, you want to call the roll?
Yes, okay, so for
Almost
passage of
got by
motion,
with it.
sorry, Mayor, for passage of motion 13, Mayor McComb.
Aye.
Councilmembers Roy. Smith.
Aye.
Barrera.
Aye.
Garza. Guajardo.
Aye.
Hernandez.
Aye.
Hunter.
Aye.
And Molina is absent, and the motion passes.
Okay, item 17. Was it 17? Who wanted that?
Yeah, I guess going through this, I think there's nothing better than voting on residential streets program. So it's a great day, but I noticed that we didn't get bids on 3 of the items there. So are we going out to rebid, or what? Just what?
Mr. Smith, this is Jeff Edmonds, Director of Engineering Services. Yes, we're going to put this back out next month, and part of the information that we got from one of the contractors is they have some issues with our lime stabilization specification that we had on the reconstruction parts, and we are revisiting that and considering some modifications to that, and hopefully we'll do better when we put it back out next month.
Okay, so we pulled it then.
Pardon me?
We pulled it? We pulled the
No.
bids?
No, we got no bids on that.
We just
didn't
got
pull
no
it.
bids.
They stated that the lime stabilization specification, this was Haas Anderson, that the lime stabilization specification that we have is, they consider it onerous, and they would like us to harmonize it with TxDOT specifications, and we're looking into that and considering that before we re-advertise next month.
Okay, so we have the money, we have the streets, we just don't have the bids.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, hopefully next month we'll be okay in this next tranche. Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, going back to the no bid, there is one on here, and this is something that I discussed with a few of the people in engineering, which is base bid C, which had no bids, but there is a contract for, and it stated that we have a public health and safety, and I just want to make sure that we all understand that that's not quite correct. And the reason I say that is because I asked our public works director what public health and safety issue we are having there, and he said he wasn't aware of any. So I would like for us to have that discussion as to allowing for a contract where we had no bids, and kind of discuss that through, so make sure that we understand what we're voting for. And Jeff, I was wondering if you could explain a little bit of that based on our discussion yesterday.
Well, the situation, you might recall a memorandum that went out to council in April. It was a memorandum that I authored, and it explained the situation with Airline Road, that you may recall that this contractor that we are recommending awarding one of these contracts to under this bid was a successful bidder on Airline Road. And in that memorandum, it stated that we were going to be delaying the start of that contract until January 21st, and that we were looking for a way to utilize their capacity. We were looking for something of similar size and similar scope of work. At the time of that memorandum, we had opened the bids, and we realized that they were interested in doing this work. Based on the ordinary evaluation, they would have not been awarded a contract. But given the fact that they were being negatively impacted by the decision to delay airline, and that they had the capacity ready and able to do this work, and the fact that we had a lack of bidders, we felt like it was a win-win to award them a contract under this procurement.
Okay, that being said, I'm still a little uncomfortable about using an exemption under the Texas local code that doesn't really apply. And so I was a little concerned. I just want to make sure that that was fully vetted in what that is. Now, the way I was explained by, I want to say one of your attorneys, I forget her name, Janet.
She's right here with us.
Janet Whitehead.
Right. The way it was explained, the way she explained it to me was that all streets are considered health and safety concerns in dealing with, I guess, public safety vehicles and that kind of stuff. I think it's a little bit of a stretch. I said I would agree to disagree with her on that assessment, but I just want to make sure that we fully vet that, that knowing that there's really not a true health and safety issue associated with doing this bid, and I'm uncomfortable assigning this contract. And I understand the reasons for it, and I understand the expediency for it, but I'm uncomfortable with it. And, the council may vote to award that contract regardless, but I think it's, we shouldn't circumvent the Texas local code just for the sake of expediency in the situation that occurred due to the COVID-19 basis. So with that, I would ask that we really take that into consideration.
This is Janet Whitehead, city attorney. So as I was talking yesterday with engineering and Councilman Hernandez, the state law requires all contracts over 50,000 be bid unless there is an exception. The exception is to preserve or protect the public health or safety of the city's residences. That does not mean there's an emergency situation. It means that we are preserving or protecting our traveling public, our fire, and our police who need to get to an emergency situation so that they have safer roads. The city council has made streets a priority. The city's residents have twice voted for residential streets, one in the bond program and one with the 222 tax increase for residential streets in order to have a safe path of travel when they leave their home. So it is any contract that will reconstruct or rehabilitate our streets is to preserve or protect the public safety and public health. And that's why the exception applies.
As I mentioned, I agreed to disagree with that opinion. But with that, I'll make a motion to accept all the base bids with exception of base bid C.
Well, now,
And
what
can I make
exactly
one
does
more
that mean?
comment? So the reason that we don't do this exception often when awarding contracts is because city management and city council have directed that they want no subjectivity in awarding contracts. They want that bid price. They want lowest responsible bids. And this situation is a little different because JE Construction did submit bid prices and they were within $500 of Haas Anderson on base bid E for rehabilitation. The base bid C that did not get any bids, it was a hybrid. It had reconstruction and rehabilitation. And so we are using the competitive bid pricing from base bid E from JE Construction and breaking out the base bid C and just awarding them their rehabilitation part. We will be, like Jeff said, we will be bidding out the reconstruction part, but the rehab part, we are awarding to JE Construction using their competitive bid pricing from base bid E.
Well, I mean,
And
we're
that's
already
why we are
we're
making
already
this
going to bid
exception.
two other bid packages out again. Wouldn't it be
Right, but-
wouldn't it be just as I mean, we're going to do it anyway with two other bid packages. Wouldn't it be that not that much more difficult to include a third package with that?
But our residents are saying they want it done expediently so that they have safer streets to travel on.
Like I said, I'll agree to disagree with you on the method here. Like I said, I don't think we should be circumventing Texas local code for the sake of expediency, especially since this is a rehabilitation, not a reconstruction. And secondly, we're also going to be doing redoing two more bid packages for two other sets for bid package, the reconstruction bid package C and bid package A.
All right, well, there's a motion. I didn't hear a second.
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
So, make real clear what the motion is. You're wanting to award
To
all of them
approve,
except this
approve all,
contract?
approve them all except for bid package C for the rehabilitation because it wasn't bid properly.
Okay.
The
It
bid
was-
package.
So, Mayor,
Bid properly, and it was following state law.
Well, let me just say there was no bids. We're assigning a no bid contract, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not comfortable with not following the process correctly. And since we are going to be bidding some more packages, this can be easily included with them. We're talking about maybe a 4 to 6 week delay, depending on how long it takes us to get this thing fast tracked. But I don't think 30 days or 60 days even is going to be that much of a significant difference.
Yeah, just to remind the council that the award to JE Construction has two components. One, we get the work done on time, but two, in talking to the shop owner there on Airline, the strip center owner, all those businesses did not want us to do that Airline project, and so we postponed it till January 2021. But the solution was we were awarding JE this work and said they had already mobilized crews and had equipment rented and all that. So it kind of helped out to say, okay, to the businesses that didn't want us to do that project because of COVID issues, we said, okay, no problem, we'll postpone it. But JE then was left in the lurch, and they agreed to postpone their work as well. And so this allows them to stay busy, puts their teams at work, and uses the equipment that they have all ready to go. So just to remind us on that part. Jeff Edmondson did send a memo out back in April on that.
All right, Mr. Garza?
I see the benefit in actually giving JE Construction the bid and basically potentially avoiding a lawsuit if they absorb some cost, because we had already approved the bid and decided I know we had the discussion about delaying, and then I thought we were going to go forward with the project, and I could certainly see that they were already in the works to start. So I see the benefit in actually trying to avoid some litigation and make at least the contractor whole. How can we be assured, though, as a body, how can we be assured that we won't use this particular peg to go out and award contracts that haven't been properly bid, or the ones that, for whatever reason, that we don't follow the process that we feel comfortable is in the city's best interest, in the community's best interest?
Well, the only reason we're doing it here is because of that one project that we delayed based on the business owner's recommendation. As Councilman Hernandez says, there's several others that we're going to go back out and rebid. And so we're proving it right here today by the fact that we didn't use that same methodology. That is state allowed, it's legal to do so. But we're actually going to go back out and rebid some of the work for the residential street rebuild because we didn't get a bidder. We're using one package to be awarded to JE Construction as part of that compromise solution that not only helps them as a business, but also helps, I think it's over 30 businesses at that shopping center over there in Airline. I personally went out and visited with the owner, and he just said the small businesses would get crushed if we started that project today. And at first I was, and the council approved, we approved that contract. And I was in agreement, let's move it forward. But after I went out there and visited with them and saw there's a lot of individual shop owners, they probably would have had some financial impact, maybe close. So this is a win-win. It allows us to postpone airline till January, allows all those businesses to recover slowly through the COVID transition. But then it also doesn't put JE in a lurch. And they had hired people, they had rented equipment, they bought supply, material. And so it awards them a contract using a state-approved legal process, Councilman, but by demonstrating we're not doing that in the other 2 or 3 that have to be rebid, I think that's the answer to your question. We've only used it in this one case. I'm not sure if it's going to come up again in the future, but.
What are we going to do with the airline job? Are we going to come back and rebid, or is JE Construction going to get that?
It's going to be January 2021 will be the start date. They agreed to.
They're going to hold the pricing for that?
Yes, they agreed. That's another good point. They agreed to hold the pricing and acknowledge that contract. We don't have to bring it back to council. We just have a new notice to proceed issued in that contract.
Okay.
JE, by the way, is a local company, and it's one we're grooming to be another big company in Corpus, so we have more competition. That's another plus of that JE being a local company, hiring local, stays active and gets better as a company.
And Mayor, on that, sorry, Rudy, I didn't mean to interrupt or anything, but I understand the reasoning, and it's all very makes sense in the sense where the reasoning makes sense. And just like I said, we're actually doing something here, taking advantage of an exemption within the local code that wasn't necessarily, I don't think it necessarily applies. And plus, I want to make sure that we like I said, we vet this because there was another bidder, or Ortiz Contracting was also in there, and they weren't given that option for that no bid contract because they were also bidding on those as well. Now I understand the reasons. I just want to make sure that we can approve it, and that'd be fine. I just want to make sure that we're clear on what we're approving. Does that make sense? I think so. Okay. I also have some other questions about the actual contracts associated with our. Before we take a vote, Mayor, if you give me some leeway here.
Well, you got a motion there. I'd like to make a comment on this particular item, though. I see this as good management. You got a problem where the constituents out there, they've been put out of business pretty much by COVID, and they live by the cash flow. They don't have a lot of reserves. And then to go right in here and start tearing the street up when we're getting to the end of the COVID, when people can start getting out, I think they're right. We'd just put them under. And you had a contract you had a contract with. I think you mentioned the potential litigation. You had a contract, so get the city for breach of contract because we're trying to accommodate our citizenry. You've done everything within the law. I think that's what you call good management, and that's what you're hired for. And I commend you on it. And I certainly hope this motion doesn't pass, but we'll see in just a minute, and then we'll vote on it. If it doesn't pass, then we'll get a motion to pass them all. But go ahead, Mr. Hernandez.
Okay, the other part of this was I wanted to talk a little bit about how these, we don't see the contracts in this. We see the bid tabulations. We see this, which is a little interesting. I think we should be seeing the contracts on these. But according to our requirements for under our ordinances, and this is under, if you look into Part 2, number 18, change order authority for city managers or designee, when construction contract is awarded, an amount for change order shall be designated, a typical allocation being 10% of the contract price or contingency. Now, I didn't see a contingency in the bid tabulations. I saw allotments, but those allotments came up to about 2% of the actual contract price, so there's not really following the ordinance that we have in place. And I wondered to know if there was some aspect of that we're accounting for. If we do have change orders, where does that funding come from if it's not built in with the contract? And if there's some other aspects of that, but I'd like to have an answer as to where that funding would come from if it's not part of the contract.
Well, this is Jeff Edmonds, Director of Engineering, and I'm probably going to start, and I'll let Camille Terrace finish. So the first question is about the contract. So when we sign these contracts, the contract value will include those allowances that you're indicating. Now, those are for utility-related items, and those encumbrances go against those funds. Now, we can't encumber funds that are above the contract value, and that's part of the issue with our financial system. So if we wind up in a change order situation that raises the contract value, we also have to go through a process of identifying those funds to cover that change order. And so I'll hand off to Camille on that process.
So a change order is requested through the assessment is done to see if any additional savings from any completed projects are available, what was the original budget of said project, if it was if the actual contract is under the budgeted amount for that project, the allotted amount for that project, some of that savings can be used for the change order. So there's multiple areas that we look for if a change order is required. As just stated, we don't encumber because we're not allowed to encumber right off the bat for those things. So we just have to, when we create budgets, we always add that contingency into the budgets when we put the capital budgets together. So there's usually a 10% contingency in the actual budget. So that's what we usually rely on for the additional funding if a change order comes by.
Okay, so if that's the case, and we probably need to revisit this ordinance to say what is actually happening, because as I read this ordinance says that it is required to have 10% contingency on that, and that was done Resolution 030594 on 8/25/2015. Which brings me to the other aspect of that. Change orders are associated with this. There's supposed to be a quarterly report on change orders. Now, we may have received that, but I don't recall receiving that for the last year and a half that I've been on council, and I'm supposed to get a copy of that for the last year, and I'm waiting on that, Jeff, so whenever you can get that to me, I'd appreciate that. But that being said, if there's not a contingency existing, how do you assume to get that 75% range? And let me read that. If an aggregate sum of change orders exceeds 75% set aside for contingency, the city manager shall notify the city council immediately upon execution of the change order. So looking at that, I haven't seen any of those. I'm assuming some exist, but if we can get maybe review this, look at some of some of these contracts associated with this, and I want to make sure that we're actually doing what our policy or our ordinance says we should be doing with regards to this. So if you can, I don't know if you would want a motion or direction on something like that, or if you could just get that information to us.
I can tell you that we're working on that in engineering. I'm not sure when the last version of this was officially communicated. I think there's been a couple of communication breakdowns. Some of these may have been delivered to management and then not distributed to council. Some of the time, engineering might have missed the tickler and not produced the report when it was due on the quarter. But we're going back and trying to locate those legacy reports that have been done. I know some have been done and some have been transmitted. I'm not sure exactly how many of those made it to city council, but we're doing that research on that. We're going back and looking at the wording of the ordinance and checking that against what our procedure's been on reporting and trying to be sure that we're complying with the wording of that ordinance.
Okay, well, I ask city manager if you could take a look at that and make sure we're following exactly what we're supposed to be doing. It doesn't seem like it with any of these contracts, so if we can review that, I'd appreciate it. So
yeah, we can do that.
And that's all the questions I had. Mayor, if we could take the vote.
There's a motion on the floor to pass item 17.
Mayor, excuse me. I share the same concerns related to change orders. I'd love to see some visibility so we can figure out how we're doing with the projects and how much we're actually spending on change orders, because we've got no reports. But I'm going to go ahead for the expediency part of the meeting. I'm going to go ahead and withdraw my second on Gil's motion and go ahead and make a motion to approve the the items on the agenda on number 17 and 30.
All right, second has been withdrawn from the initial motion, and a new motion has been made for passage of item 17 as presented. Is there a second? There's a second. All
Who
right.
seconded it? I'm sorry.
Who was that back in the back?
Oh, Roland. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any further discussion? Ms. Worth, you want to call the roll, please?
For passage of Resolution 17, Mayor McComb,
Aye.
Council members Roy,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Barrera,
Aye.
Garza,
Aye.
Guajardo,
Aye.
Hernandez.
Like the baby in the bathwater here. Aye.
Hunter,
Aye.
and Molina is absent. The resolution passes.
All right, that gets us down through item, we've handled all the others, right? We're at the item K, lunch. It's 1 o'clock. It says
About
lunch is
1:30.
1:30. We got a couple of public hearings. Did we have any comments submitted on agenda items related to public hearings or the agenda items that would require any comments submitted to you other
No,
than
sir.
what was
So,
for general
yes, there's
public
nothing to
comment?
read into the record for public hearings. That's right. No
Okay.
comments received.
All right, then, item 21 is a zoning case 04201, Mustagashi Enterprises in District 5, Mr. Hernandez's district. Rezoning property at or near 8102 Yorktown Boulevard. Who's presenting that?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This is Mike Dice with the Development Services Department. The case before you today is to rezone property from the FR Farm Rural District to the R6 Single Family 6 District and CG2 General Commercial District. The purpose is to allow for the construction of single-family homes and commercial properties along Yorktown Road. The applicant is Mustagashi Enterprises, Inc. Next slide. Oh, sorry, one guy. The aerial overview here. The property is located along the north side of Yorktown Boulevard, east of Starry Road and west of Rocher, which is designated as an A3 primary arterial street. The north, south, and east are vacant properties zoned FR Farm Rural District. To the west are vacant properties zoned RS 4.5 Single Family 4.5 and CG2 General Commercial District. The subject property consists of vacant land and has remained undeveloped and unplatted since annexation in 1995. The proposed rezoning to the RS6 Single Family 6 District and the CG2 General Commercial District is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, Plan CC, and the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding properties and does not have a negative impact. Planning Commission met on April 15th, and the unanimous recommendation is approval for the change of zoning. 6 public notices mailed, 0 in favor, 0 in opposition, 0 opposed. Staff recommends approval of the R6 Single Family and CG2 General Commercial District zoning, and I stand by for any questions.
Okay, staff and commission both recommended approval.
Yes, sir.
Nobody voiced any opposition?
No, sir.
Anybody have any discussion? Mr. Smith?
Thank
Oh,
you.
excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Hernandez, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Or was that from last time? Okay, Mr. Smith?
Is this land in the floodplain? 100-year floodplain?
I believe there's a portion in the northeast corner that resides in some floodplain, but the majority of the property is outside, is my understanding.
Okay. Well, and I make this comment that, I'm going to vote for it. It's obvious it's an R6, but it just shows the importance of what our BFEs are and our continuing drive to build in the hazard area. So I hope we're engaging all the community on the our efforts in building in the floodplains, and that we're taking a long-term vision on that and not build to minimum standards with it. Thank you.
Does this have a 1 foot?
Yeah, we're 1 foot now.
And
Yeah, so we're at 1 foot. We've talked about going to 2 feet. We've reached out to development community. They said, we don't want 2 feet, and they're pushing everything through. But I would like us to reach out to the insurance community, the scientific community on there, and get a broader representation in our building practices.
Well, along those lines, I know there's been a lot of discussion, and from what I remember, and this is just vacant land right now, correct?
Correct.
Part of the argument in the past was that you got a subdivision or an area, and you got 20% or 30% developed, or maybe even 50 or 60% developed, and then you come in and your neighbor, you raise it, then that creates a problem. But if we're starting with a clean slate, I don't know why we don't just do it. I mean, they move a lot of dirt around to make road for streets and everything else. They just pile it up there and get them a little above. I mean, that saves everybody in the city and their insurance in the long haul, right?
That's right. The homeowners save in the long run. The extra cost that is in the cost of the lot will be offset by lower insurance with it. So anybody.
The homeowner ultimately pays it.
The homeowner ultimately pays it, and the homeowner will ultimately, at 2 feet above BFE, they will have a savings in the long run with it, besides just the lower probability of flooding on there.
Well, this is on the agenda today, but that may be something we want to look at again, because if it's a clean slate and as fast as we're moving across Oso and all out there where you're just developing raw land, it seems to me if we're going to make that move, now's the time to make it. Not on this one, but I mean, it brought it to the attention.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion on then? Anybody else have any comments on item 21? Do we need to open the public hearing or after we have it?
Right, just if you can just open and close it and just
All right,
say.
well, we'll open the public hearing and we'll play the tape back of what we just said for the public hearing. You got it for the record, right?
Gotcha.
All right, now we're in the public hearing. Mr. Garza, you are official.
I'm going to support this. I think the zoning is proper, appropriate for that particular area. The concern that I have, and when I first got on the council, I had some big concerns about the development out there on Rodfield Road heading toward Yorktown. And I pushed to get the Rodfield project on the bond election in 2014. We're just now going through construction pains of actually building that road, and all those areas back in there have already filled in. We've had to do some work on and improving Slow Road, and it's created some additional, I'm going to say, construction activity in order to be able to do that. I'm concerned right now about the condition of Yorktown.
Oh, it's awful.
Between Flower Bluff and Rodfield Road.
It's awful.
And it's not my area, but I want to just ask that Gil and Councilman Smith work on putting that on the 2020 bond election of Yorktown, because again, that area is going to develop faster than we can put the transportation or the traffic infrastructure that it's going to need in order to keep people happy. People right there at Rodfield and all that area are real aggravated right now what we're doing, and they think we took too long, and I think we did take too long. We knew that area was going to fill in. There were no more empty lots in that area or empty spaces. So I see us facing the same thing with Yorktown. So that's the only concern I have.
Well, I agree with that. But I was coming through the other day, and I don't know how long it's going to be, but they've got airline in Yorktown closed. I don't know how long that is going to be, but maybe it's just a week kind of deal, but it's going to be, they're doing some construction. But anyway, yeah, that's a terrible road especially from airline out to Laguna Shores, but even further on in, it needs to be done. And I think we've got several patches of Yorktown either on plans or something. I think I've seen those in there somewhere.
That's the other side. It's over the plan for Yorktown is to repave some of the areas between Weber and Lake Michaela.
Okay. But that part is bad.
Mm-hmm.
But
so what he's referring to is widening the 2-lane road. I guess you'd call it almost a county road with ditches on the sides, to a 4-lane out to that bridge. But then I guess once you get across that bridge, you have to deal with the AQZ out there. There's not as much density on the other side in Flower Bluff on Yorktown. So I will have to see how the best way to accommodate that is. Also the concern there is if you can extend Rodfield, you would remove some of that traffic going down Yorktown.
Rodfield comes down to Woolridge now, doesn't it? Doesn't that where it end right now? Or does it go past Woolridge?
Rodfield intersects with Yorktown. It ends at Yorktown.
Goes
So
from Yorktown.
Rodfield is all the way through to Yorktown now?
That's correct.
Okay.
Ideally,
I'm thinking Rodfield.
Ideally, we'd like Rodfield to extend all the way to Oso Parkway so we can get ready for the mobility requirement for the transit plan to connect it to 286. If we can expand that as well as Yorktown, you can move a lot of traffic off of Yorktown because they won't be turning left to get into their neighborhood. They can go straight on Rodfield to hit their neighborhoods.
All right. So we got, anyone else on, Mr. Roy, did you have something?
I just want to make one quick observation. I mean, I was traveling on that road the other day, went to a new subdivision, and then I wanted to make a left to go out to Flower Bluff. And the road, in my opinion, is so narrow that I kept saying, wait a minute, there's got to be another side to this. Am I safe to pull out? Because it's that narrow that you think that it's only
bad.
one side.
It's bad.
And so I had to look 2 or 3 times because I thought surely there's it's 2 lanes already, but it wasn't.
And
Not a good situation.
If you haven't been out there lately, I mean, there have been millions of dollars of investment in those new neighborhoods. But that old road going out there is awful.
Well, like Gil said, they're old county road sections.
Yeah. All right, any other comment in the public hearing? All right, we'll close the public hearing. We got a recommendation by staff and the planning commission in favor of it. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on item 21? Ms. Worth, you want to call the roll?
For passage of ordinance 21 on its first reading, Mayor McComb.
Aye.
Councilmembers Roy, Smith,
Aye.
Barrera,
Aye.
Garza,
Aye.
Guajardo,
Aye.
Hernandez,
Aye.
Hunter,
Aye.
and Molina is absent. The ordinance passes.
All right, item 22 is a zoning case number 0420-02, Branch Towers III. Out on Ayers, Light Industrial. Who's going to make that presentation?
Mayor and Council, again, this is Mike Dice with Development Services. This case before you is to rezone from the IL Light Industrial District to ILSP Light Industrial District with a special permit. The purpose is to allow for the construction of a 120-foot telecommunications tower. The applicant is Branch Towers, LLC. Property is located along the west side of Ayers Street, south of Galahar and north of McCardle. The property primarily fronts along Ayers, which is designated as an A1 minor arterial street. To the north is an office park and vacant lot zoned IL, Light Industrial District. To the south is a vehicle sales dealership, zone IL. And to the east and west is Ayers Street and State Highway 286, Crosstown Expressway. Subject property consists of a portion of a parking lot for an existing shopping center constructed in 1979. The proposed rezoning to the ILSP Light Industrial District with a special permit is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, Plan CC. The proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding properties and does not have a negative impact. Planning Commission met on April 15th and the unanimous recommendation is approval. 8 public notices were mailed, 0 in favor, 0 in opposition. And staff and Planning Commission have a recommendation for the approval of the ILSP Light Industrial District with a special permit. And I stand by for any questions.
All right, anybody on the council have any questions? If not, we'll open up the public hearing. No comments were received in favor of or in opposition, were they, Ms. Worth?
Nope. So we can
All
close
right,
it.
then we'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion on item 22 on the zoning case. It was recommended both by the Planning Commission and the staff.
Approval. I move for approval.
All right, there's
Second.
is that Mr. Barrera?
Yes.
All right. Is there a second?
Ms. Wahardo?
Second.
Ms. Wahardo, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Oh, excuse me, whoa, call the roll, Ms. Ward. Yeah.
Yeah. Mayor McComb?
Aye.
Councilmembers Roy, Smith,
Aye.
Barrera,
Aye.
Garza, Guajardo,
Aye.
Hernandez,
Aye.
Hunter,
Aye.
and Molina is absent. Ordinance 22 on first reading passes.
All right, 23, it's not a public hearing, right?
It also is, Mayor.
It is?
It's to,
That's a, it says ordinance, but we'll call it a public hearing. We'll
It's
open it
under
up.
public
All right.
hearing.
Ordinance closing, the abandoning and vacating an unimproved 1.8 acre portion of Starry. You talk about getting narrow in the road if you were going out there, right there by Starry Lane and all that. I mean, you could be in the bar ditch real quick. Starry, out of Flower Bluff, who's handling that one?
Again, Mike Dice with Development Services. Good morning, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this ordinance is to abandon and vacate a 20-foot wide by approximately 1,960 feet long unimproved paper street in order to facilitate the development of Starlight Estates Unit 5. As you can see from the map, this is a vicinity view of the subject street named Starry Road. It is located south of Yorktown Boulevard between Krypton Drive and Ames alignments. The closure of the unimproved public street is being requested by the owner of the property, NPM Development, to facilitate the development of a residential subdivision on the property. A rezoning of this property was approved by council on April 21st, 2020 to RS 4.5. The planned subdivision phase has 86 single-family home sites and is in the Corpus Christi Independent School District. No public or franchise utilities are affected by this street closure. And just to note, the existing home on the lower left is owned by the developer, NPM, and will not affect access to that home. Staff recommends approval of the street closure, and I stand by for any questions.
You made a comment, Mr. Smith?
Thank you. In a closure like this, 1.8 acres, do we get any compensation for it?
On unimproved streets, no, we do not.
Okay, so we're releasing 1.8 acres.
Of undeveloped property, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That puts it back on the tax roll, I guess. I don't guess it ever off, was it? It's just a paper street. What's an easement? So it does, I guess.
Your microphone isn't on, Mr. Risley.
Yeah.
Technically, we only have the easement right in trust for the benefit of the public when it's a paper street.
Okay, so they never did give up ownership, we just got an easement to it, right? Okay,
Right, it's not our fee simple.
okay. You made one, and maybe I misunderstood. You said this was in CCISD? You sure it's not Flower Bluff? Where's the school boundary out there?
It's in the Flower Bluff and Encinal Farm and Garden Tract, but some of those extend on the Blackland side of the OSO. So it's in that Rodfield area.
Okay, so the
It's on the
school
west side
district
of the
doesn't go that far.
Yeah, even though it's a Flower Bluff and Encinal Farm and Garden Tract.
Okay, that,
Yeah.
kind of, okay. Mr. Hernandez, you had a question?
Yes. You know, I'm very leery about giving up these kind of easements on roads. Are we going to have any issues with public safety vehicles traveling into these neighborhoods based on removing this road?
There should not be any access issues, as this road currently does not exist and it is unimproved property. The vacant property has been in that condition for a number of years. As the new property is developed, the Starlight Unit 5, Starlight Unit 4, as you can see from slide 3, is already in construction. There is access through Ames and Stampede into that neighborhood, and this would continue that access.
What would this have been if it was constructed out? Would it have been a collector?
Actually, I think that would have been a residential based on direction within the development. But that could have changed as any changes to transportation plan based on density could have risen. But based on the unit, Starlight Unit 5, which has already gone through review for Planning Commission, it will remain residential streets, accessing again through Ames and Stampede and or through Krypton.
Okay, thank you.
Superman live out there?
Well, there's also Iron Man as well. I can throw that.
And Wonder Woman and Spider-Man and all that? Okay. This is a public hearing. We'd open the public hearing.
Yeah, I've just opened and closed it, no comments.
All right, opening for public hearing on Krypton and Iron Man and Starry and out of Flower Bluff in the CCISD school district.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Ms. Eduardo moves to approve. Is there a second? Second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion on item 23? All in favor say aye. Oh, that, Ms. Worth, close the public hearing, right?
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
you just did. Good job, Mayor. So for passage of ordinance 23 on first reading, Mayor McComb.
Aye.
Councilmembers Roy. Smith.
Aye.
Barrera.
Aye.
Garza. Guajardo.
Aye.
Hernandez. Mr. Hernandez? Oh, you thank you.
Aye.
Hunter.
Aye.
Alien is absent. The ordinance passes.
Okay, we've got first reading ordinances on 24, 25, 26, 27. And 3 of those are part of the good news I was talking about earlier today. Our grants, 24 is accepting a $228,000 grant, 25 is accepting a $10,000 grant, and 26 is accepting a $15,000 grant. So whoever put all those together, again, kudos to your staff, Mr. Zanoni. And then item 27 is the authorize it. Good thing they went to work before we actually got this authorized.
Yeah.
Is this the second reading or first? I thought we'd taken action on this earlier, or maybe it was just a recommendation. But I was thinking
Yeah,
I
I
thought
guess
we'd
it's-
done something on this before.
Yeah, well, we had before, not in recent time, but.
Just maybe signing the agreement to do it? Or I don't
Yeah.
know, but there's something.
I think we had talked, I may have done a briefing on it. in my
Maybe that's what it
supervisor's
was.
report, either me or Keith, but our lifeguard, our lifeguards were already down there, we're working, we had an agreement last year, so we're still kind of carrying that one over until this gets
Okay.
approved.
They just added to them, I think, didn't it, or move them a little further down there to Coastal
Yep.
Bob Hall Pier?
Yeah, it puts 3 down there at Bob Hall Pier.
Yeah, okay. So that's, I mean, that's paying dividends already.
Yeah, it saved 4 lives this weekend.
Yeah. All right, anybody have any discussions on items 24 through 25 on the first reading? Accepting money, anybody got anything to say about that? Don't light your button up unless it's for it.
You mean 24 through 27 or just 24 and 25? Was that your intent, just to do a couple?
No, 24, well, if everybody's okay with 24 through 27, just do them all.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
I'm not sure if anybody has a question.
You have a motion
on 27.
on 27? Okay, well,
We'll pull that one.
Mr. Smith?
Well, we're just on 27. I want to reinforce, like the city manager said, that there were 4 rescues this year.
Weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, this weekend.
Yes,
weekend.
this
Yes.
weekend.
Yes,
And
Sunday.
we know we had deaths last year, and Jasana and the work that Deshawn has done putting this together has real effects. So I want to thank her for her just untiring work on keeping our beaches safe, and the city and the county working together. That at this point in time last year, we had 3 or 4 deaths. I don't remember exactly, but in June we were already there, and now we're so much better. So it's just a great example of the community getting together and the city recognizing the importance of this. So that's it. Thanks.
Mr. Hernandez?
Mayor,
Paulette has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
well, just a comment. I was going to say that along the same lines is, this all came about when Kawana Dixon, brought the unfortunate tragedy of her son, losing her son in this same area. And I think it's, as Councilman Smith just mentioned, it's a testament to what we can accomplish together, with the partnership with the county. So I'm really, really excited and happy about this. Not only this, but also, other things like the beach swap that we also participated in with the county. Just in other words, to better what we're doing and increase awareness in this case of what, as Peter just mentioned, what could have happened just Sunday morning. So I think this is great. This is a big, as you say, Mayor, great news item. And so I'm really happy about this. Thanks.
All right. Ms. Smith, or was that yours? That was, yeah. All right. I'll entertain then a motion for items 24 through 27. There's a motion second. Ms. Huerta, would you call the roll?
For passage of ordinances 24 through 27 on their first reading, Mayor McComb.
Aye.
Councilmembers Roy.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Barrera.
Aye.
Garza.
Aye.
Guajardo.
Aye.
Hernandez.
Aye.
Hunter. Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
And Mr. Molina is absent. The ordinance is passed.
All right. That gets us down to, we have any briefings? I don't see any listed, do we?
No, sir.
No briefings.
Got one executive session. Do we want to do that in conjunction with the lunch?
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
we can do that
All right, so.
and then adjourn after.
Where are we here? Let me make sure I got the right language. I don't have my language here, Ms. Huerta.
Yes, you do.
Huh?
Yeah.
From a closed
It's
session?
on page 5.
5.
Mhm.
Yeah, I need to get a copy of that.
I want to make sure I don't get Miles having to defend me here.
When I first got here. And,
Okay, and
the
this is
second one,
item
there was nothing
28.
before it. There were no change orders.
All right, at this time, the council will go into executive session on item 28 per the Texas Government Code, section 551071. We will return following lunch and the executive session. Being back into session, no action to be taken on the executive session. Next item on our agenda is identify council future agenda items. Anybody have any? Yes, sir, Mr. Smith?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a future council agenda item, but I want to take the opportunity to congratulate Landry Smith, Corpus Christi's newest citizen, and her lovely mother, Heather. 12:30 today.
Does that happen to be your granddaughter?
That may be my newest granddaughter. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, Grandpa. This your second? Second. Well, that's good. Better keep your pocketbook handy. Those little grandchildren seem to be able just to reach right in that pocket.
I'm already finding that out, and now it's just doubled.
All right, anything else? One thing I'd like to, and it's not an agenda item, maybe just a report, and it could be a memo, but can you give us a one-page summary of when we might expect to be able to take advantage of those water towers that we've built? When they're gonna come online?
Yes, yeah, we can do that, Mayor.
Or we could sell tickets, we just open them and find out how many leaks pop up in 30 minutes,
no.
you know, after
Well, that was the
pressure
plan,
gets-
but we've hired a consulting firm that has worked with municipalities before on turning those on. There was a staff plan that didn't really have much peer review. So that consulting firm, which is they're a water distribution expertise firm, they're reviewing our plan of action, and they're gonna look at the hydraulics and all that stuff that was done prior. And so that contract was just signed a couple weeks ago. We'll get you a one-pager, but,
Well, and a timetable, a lot of people are asking questions, and they seem to be asking them a little more frequently, and.
Okay, we'll get you that.
I mean, those towers are gonna be obsolete before they get used if we're not careful.
Right, we have a timetable that firm's helped us with, and so we'll document that out on one page.
That's fine, just some information.
Okay.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just to reiterate from the discussion earlier about making sure we have the change order report done quarterly. And as I read it, it's all change orders, not just ones that reach that 7%, 7.5% threshold. And that should come to us. Like I said, I hadn't seen one, so appreciate it if we can get that.
Okay.
And may want to revisit that policy as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Bay Area. They won't let you in up there, will they? No. Yeah, Mr. Smith, you want to tell us again about your grandbaby?
Just a proud grandpa in Bay Area Hospital, so thanks to the staff there.
Well, if you may be able to see her and hold her within 30 days if coronavirus rules still coming in.
From your experience at that,
It was 30 days before we even got close, but we got the Zoom pictures and we got that, so it's fun.
Well, I was told by my son this morning, yes, I am in quarantine with it, so, yeah.
All right, Mr. Roy?
I don't know if we talked about readdressing the 2-foot floorboard deal. Is that going to automatically come back, or do we need to follow up on that?
I don't know that we scheduled anything to come back, but I think we want to at least maybe get staff or somebody to come back or put together some, I think the comment was, put together insurance. I mean, there's some real benefits to have it, but there's also some negatives if it's not done properly. And the developers will come in and argue, particularly in existing subdivisions, that you raise the level of somebody on one end of the street, you create a problem for the guy at the other end of the street. But if you're going out in a whole new vacant piece of a 100-acre tract or something and starting a new development, by the time you build your roads and dig your ditches for drainage and all that, you've got enough to add 2 feet if you spread it out across that property.
Yeah, and my focus is on new development.
And so whether we could do something, because that extra foot of freeboard, I think that lady from Noah or whoever it was down here. I mean, it saves a substantial amount of money for insurance people across the city, not just the people in those zones, right?
Yes, this could.
You turn your mic on, Mr. Smith. Sorry.
Yeah. So we get community rating points by doing this, and every time you get 1,000 points, you get a reduction in everybody's flood insurance in the county.
Yeah. So it, I mean, that's part of the argument on North Beach, is that they, you solve the drainage problem by elevating the island over there. The problem is the people that are where they are, you elevate the neighbor, you're gonna dump more on them. You dig a canal, that doesn't do anything about elevation, but that's a whole different issue what engineers are working on now. But in these vacant these vacant acreages, Oso Creek, that brand-new bridge out there, Oso Creek, it almost experienced its first flood last week. And it has flooded in the past, but, 24 inches is not a whole lot it's upfront cost for the developer, but they get it back when they sell the value of the lot, when they sell the lot. So the homeowner, he may pay another extra $100 or $200 or $1,000 for a lot, but if they're out there for 20 years, he's probably gonna save $5,000 in insurance. But anyway, just a report. See what we can get on that.
All right.
Ms. Smith? No? If not, we'll see you next week, the 16th.
June 16th.
And we'll listen to see what the governor has to say between now and Thursday about whether we're still in a crisis or disaster declaration or not. If we are, we'll keep doing it this way. If he says it's going to expire on the 11th, then we'll go back to our routine. All right. Well, we'll stand adjourned at 2:09.